I thought I married the love of my life. Turns out, I was sleeping next to someone quietly planning to destroy everything I'd built. When my wife's bitter sister started whispering in her ear, our 5-year marriage unraveled into a twisted game of manipulation, betrayal, and lies. But they had no idea who they were messing with. This is the true story of how I turned the tables, silently, strategically, and walked away with everything they tried to steal. You won't believe how far they went, or how perfectly it all backfired. I've been behind the wheel of a Peterbilt 389 for the better part of a decade. Built my own small freight company from nothing but sweat, calluses, and 3 a.m. truck stop coffees. I'm not flashy, I'm not rich, but I've always taken care of mine. That used to include Riley. We met at a diner off I-40. She was waiting tables and going to school part-time. I thought she was the sweetest, most down-to-earth woman I'd ever met. She liked that I worked with my hands, didn't take shortcuts. We got married 2 years later in my cousin's backyard. Nothing fancy, just ribs, beer, and folks who gave a damn. For 5 years, I thought we were solid. I should have seen it coming. The shift was slow, like a leak in a tire you don't notice until you're swerving on the highway. It started with her sister, Celeste. No, I never liked that woman. Twice divorced, always dressed like she was headed to court or a nightclub. She wore perfume strong enough to peel paint and had a voice like rusted brake pads. The kind of woman who looks at a man's wallet before she sees his face. Riley used to laugh about it. Celeste is just jaded, she'd say. Ignore her. But then Celeste's visits started getting more frequent. Always when I was back from a haul. Always just long enough to pour wine and talk with Riley in hushed tones on the porch. I'd walk out and the conversation would die like I'd cut the engine. Then Riley started asking about the business. Not in the "how is your run" kind of way, more like, whose name is the house and again? Or, is the company legally separate from your personal finances? She phrased it like casual interest, but I've filled out enough contracts and invoices to smell a setup. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe she was just taking an interest, I told myself. Maybe she was finally thinking long-term. I was working damn near 70 hours a week, trying to scale things. Maybe I'd been distant. Maybe she needed something more. That hope kept me blind a little longer than I'd like to admit. The next change was her appearance. Riley was always cute in a natural, no-frills kind of way. Suddenly it was new hair, nails every 2 weeks, boutique shopping bags showing up like clockwork. I wasn't mad, hell. I liked seeing her take care of herself, but I also noticed she stopped asking before pulling money from the joint account. She started keeping receipts, neatly filed, categorized. Even things I paid for gas, groceries, her phone, started going into a little folder in her office. I asked once what it was for, and she said, just being organized. That was the moment I felt the knot in my gut for the first time. Then came the distance. She stopped waiting up for me. We stopped laughing. I'd ask what was wrong, and she'd say, "You wouldn't understand." I'd try to hold her, and she'd flinch like I was a stranger. Celeste was always in the background, whispering poison. One night I overheard her say, "Men like him don't think we're smart enough to protect ourselves. You have to play the long game, Riley. Document everything." I stood in the hallway, heart thudding so loud I thought it might give me away. Riley didn't push back. She didn't say, "That's not what I want." She just said, "I know. I've started already." That's when I knew. This wasn't just about distance. It wasn't a rough patch. It was a setup. After that night, something in me changed. I didn't say a word to Riley about what I overheard. I just watched, listened, took mental notes. She had no idea I was on to her. Celeste kept showing up, always acting like she was doing Riley a favor just by existing. She'd saunter in with her fake nails, that smug smile, and her passive-aggressive little digs. "Still driving that same truck? Huh? You guys still doing separate finances? That's risky. Riley deserves a little more freedom, don't you think?" I'd grit my teeth and keep the peace. I wasn't going to give them anything to use against me. Not a raised voice. Not a single comment that could be twisted later. But behind closed doors, Riley was changing fast. She started using phrases I'd only ever heard from daytime talk shows. Financial control, household imbalance, power dynamics. She accused me of gatekeeping money, even though we had joint accounts, and I never questioned a single thing she spent, until now. One day she said, "Maybe I should have access to the truck business account too. I mean, it's part of our marriage, right?" I looked her in the eye and said, "You've never once helped with the business, Riley. Not a single invoice, not a dispatch, not a DOT inspection. That truck is my livelihood, not a toy." She pouted, Celeste says. Celeste doesn't know a damn thing about running a business. I snapped before I could catch myself. That earned me 2 nights on the couch. But I didn't apologize. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling fan, planning. A week later, I checked the shared computer Riley used. She'd left it open. In her downloads folder were PDFs with titles like Divorce Asset Checklist and How to Prove Financial Abuse in a Marriage. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. And yet, to my face, she was cold but civil, pretending we were still married, still figuring things out. She started dressing more provocatively around the house. Tight clothes, full makeup just to sit on the couch. I knew that game, trying to flip the narrative. I tried everything, and he just wouldn't respond to me. She was building a case, laying out the groundwork for a courtroom drama where I was the villain and she was the poor, neglected wife who just wanted to feel equal. That's when I made the call to my cousin Dean. Dean's a corporate attorney, smart as hell, dry as sandpaper, and not one for small talk. I told him everything, quietly, calmly. I didn't rant, just laid out the facts. He asked 2 questions. Is the house in your name only? Yes. And the business? LLC, fully separate, filed before the marriage. He let out a slow whistle and said, You've got a shot, but you have to move now. So I did. The next few weeks were a masterclass in keeping calm while building a war chest. I created a trust, transferred the house and truck into it, moved business funds into a new account under the LLC's name, kept my paycheck slim and clean. Every move, by the book, legal, documented, and I acted like nothing had changed. I kissed Riley on the cheek when I left, took out the trash, nodded when she mentioned Celeste coming over again, smiled and nodded like a goddamn puppet while she sharpened her knife. One night, I was out in the garage working on a brake line when I heard them again, Celeste and Riley, sitting in the kitchen just above the garage window, thinking I was out of earshot. She's going to play it cool for another month, Celeste said. Then she hits him with the divorce. Clean. You show you've been documenting everything. He'll settle fast. Trust me. And Riley, my wife, the woman I loved, the woman I married in a backyard full of ribs and beer and laughter, just laughed and said, he won't even see it coming. She was right. Except she had no idea I'd already made my move. After I heard that garage conversation, something in me shut off. Not in an angry, rage-fueled way. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just cold, silent finality. Like a switch had flipped. I still slept beside her. Still made coffee in the morning. Still acted like a man holding on to hope. But inside, I was already gone. I started keeping my own kind of folder. Bank transfers. Proof of ownership. Copies of the trust paperwork. Dates and times of every conversation. Every strange behavior. I became methodical, calculating, and above all, quiet. I knew she was waiting to catch me slipping. Maybe raise my voice, call her a name, give her something to feed the story. I wouldn't give her that. I was raised better. My old man used to say, let him build their house of lies. You just make sure yours has concrete under it. Riley, meanwhile, doubled down. She started crying more. Out of nowhere. I'd walk in the door, and she'd be sobbing on the couch like she was auditioning for a soap opera. You just don't see me anymore, she'd say. Or, I feel like I'm disappearing in this marriage. Then she'd get real quiet and ask questions like, if we ever divorced, you'd be fair with me, right? You wouldn't screw me over. With wide, tearful eyes like I was the one setting the trap. I nodded. Of course, Riley. That was the honest part. I wouldn't screw her over. But I damn sure wasn't going to let her rob me blind either. A week later, she changed the Wi-Fi password accidentally. I noticed her phone was glued to her hand constantly. Locked screens, disappearing messages. I spotted the secure folder app on her home screen. Cute. Amateur hour. One day I caught her on a video call with Celeste. She didn't see me at first, and I swear I heard Celeste say, just get him to sign something. Say it's for taxes. You need leverage before the lawyer sends the first letter. When Riley saw me standing there, she fumbled with the phone like a teenager caught sneaking out. Oh, I was just talking to Celeste about Mom's birthday, she stammered. I nodded. Cool. Tell her I said hi. She smiled. Nervously. Because she knew I didn't say that for real. From then on, I kept everything locked up. The mailbox? Forwarded to a P.O. box. The business tablet? Replaced and kept in the truck. Passwords? Changed. Not in anger, just smart. The only thing I left in plain sight was a decoy savings account with a modest balance and a few automatic deposits. I wanted her to see that. I wanted her to think I was being lazy, sloppy. I'd even leave the computer unlocked sometimes. Let her poke around. She took the bait. One evening, I caught her snapping photos of my open banking screen while pretending to check the weather. She thought she was so slick. I played along. Even asked her to grab me a beer after. Smiled when she handed it to me, pretending we were still husband and wife, not two generals digging trenches in the same backyard. Celeste's influence was all over Riley now. She dressed like her, talked like her, that same bitter tone, that same smugness. But it was all fake. Underneath it, I could still see the Riley I married. A little scared, a little unsure. But she'd chosen her side. So I finished setting the last domino. My lawyer filed the divorce papers 2 days later. Quietly, strategically. I timed it for a Thursday. I'd be out on a haul by the time she was served. That way, I wouldn't have to see the explosion up close. I didn't want the drama. I just wanted it done. The morning it happened, I kissed her forehead like always and said, "Be safe today." She looked confused. "You too. Long run." Long enough. By 2 p.m., she got served at her work. I got the text from Dean. "It's done." I pulled over, stared at the horizon for a long minute, and whispered, "Now we'll see who didn't see it coming." I didn't go home that weekend. I stayed at a truck stop off the I-29, slept in my cab with the windows cracked, and listened to the low hum of diesel engines in the lot. It was the first real peace I'd felt in months. When I finally drove back on Monday, Riley was gone. Her car was still there, but her presence, the way she moved around the house, the little tornado of energy she used to be, was missing. All that remained was a dead silence, and a single note on the kitchen counter. "We need to talk. You blindsided me." Blindsided her? No. See, I was just returning the favor. The only difference is I didn't try to destroy someone while smiling in their face. I just defended myself, silently, efficiently, and with a little help from someone who actually understood the law, not Celeste's half-baked gold digger gospel. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Riley lawyered up quick, thinking she still had the upper hand. Her attorney came out swinging, talking about spousal support, half of the business, equitable division of assets. I stayed quiet and let Dean handle it. They came after the house. Dean dropped the trust documents. They came after the business. Dean dropped the LLC filings and pre-marriage timestamps. They tried to say Riley had supported me emotionally and should be entitled to a portion of future earnings. Dean asked for documented evidence of any work, contribution, or official role she ever held. There was none, not even a login to my invoicing system. Celeste must have been losing her damn mind. This wasn't the storybook shakedown she promised Riley. I heard through the grapevine that Celeste was furious Riley didn't get me to sign leverage paperwork. No power of attorney, no co-ownership, no co-signatures. They'd underestimated just how much I'd protected what I built. Riley started showing up to hearings looking haggard. No makeup, baggy clothes, eyes puffy. She stopped meeting my gaze. The woman who once smirked while snapping secret photos of my bank screen now looked like she wanted to disappear. And Celeste? She ghosted. Just vanished. Riley had no idea why. But I did. Dean had a buddy who liked to gossip more than he should. Apparently, Celeste had been seen out at a steakhouse with her second ex-husband. The same one she'd called abusive, controlling, a narcissist. All that anti-man venom she'd spew to rile up Riley? Lies. Smoke. She wasn't empowering her sister. She was bitter, lonely, and secretly craving the very thing she told Riley to burn. And Riley burned it. For nothing. When the final judgment came down, Riley walked away with a few thousand from our old joint account and her car. That was it. No alimony. No house. No business. Everything else was either mine before the marriage or legally protected. She didn't speak during the hearing, just nodded slowly as the judge read off the terms. Afterward, as we were walking out, she tried to stop me in the hallway. "Can we talk?" I looked her over, this hollow version of the woman I married, and said, "About what? How much it cost you to believe someone more bitter than smart?" She flinched. Her lips quivered, but nothing came out. And I walked away. I didn't look back. 2 weeks after the judgment, I got a call from Riley. I let it ring the first time. Let it go to voicemail the second. By the third, I figured whatever she had to say was going to scratch at my brain until I heard it. Her voice was small, Not the usual polished tone she used when trying to manipulate or explain. Just tired. Please, can we talk? I need to say some things. In person. I don't know why I agreed. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to look her in the eye one more time and see if she regretted what she did, or if she just regretted losing. We met at a quiet diner on the edge of town. Same one where we first met. Full circle. She walked in wearing jeans and a hoodie, hair pulled back in a bun. No fake lashes. No lipstick. Just Riley. She sat down, eyes already misty. Didn't even try small talk. I messed up, she said, staring at her coffee. I listened to someone who didn't care about me the way you did. I stayed quiet. She went on. Celeste made it sound so easy. Like I was just claiming what I was owed. She said you were controlling, that I deserved more. And I believed her because I wanted to believe I was stuck. But I wasn't. I was just lazy. Comfortable. Still, I said nothing. Then she said the part one didn't expect. She's back with Brent. I raised an eyebrow. The one she called a monster? Riley nodded. Yeah. Apparently they've been seeing each other since before I even filed. She lied to me. The whole time she was pushing me to leave you, she was crawling back to her own ex behind closed doors. There it was. The full picture. Riley's castle of empowerment had been built on Celeste's hypocrisy. She wasn't rising up, she was being used as a tool. And when the plan crumbled, Celeste vanished to chase the same man she swore off in every bitter rant. I leaned back and finally spoke. I didn't build this life to impress anyone. I built it to protect us. You were supposed to be part of that. Not tear it down for scraps. I know, she whispered. Then why? She looked me dead in the eyes and for once, didn't dodge. Because I wanted to believe there was something better than the slow, steady love you gave me. And I let someone convince me that what we had wasn't enough. That hit. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't romantic. I missed birthdays, called from the road, smelled like diesel half the time. But I was loyal. I showed up. I gave her everything I had. And she traded it for Celeste's broken compass. I stood to leave. I hope you figure yourself out, Riley. I really do. But I'm done carrying the cost of your confusion. She reached for my hand. I let her take it for one brief second. Then I pulled away. Outside, the sky was gray. Rain on the horizon. But I felt lighter than I had in years. When I got home, I deleted her number, packed up the last box of her things, and dropped it at her sister's empty condo. Fitting. The next day, I climbed into my truck, turned the ignition, and let the engine rumble to life. Back to the road. Back to me. Celeste resurfaced about a month later, right when I thought I was done with both of them. I got a message through my company's public contact form, something I rarely check unless I'm screening new loads. There it was, a short, polite little note with just 2 lines. This is Celeste. I need to speak with you about Riley. Please. Just one conversation. I stared at the screen for a long time, then shut the laptop. I wasn't about to entertain the architect of this mess. But curiosity's a stubborn thing. A week later, I ran into her in person. It was at the same courthouse where I'd picked up a parking permit for oversized halls. I was leaving the building, and there she was, Celeste, sitting on the front bench in a blazer that looked a little too tight and makeup that couldn't hide the bags under her eyes. She stood up fast, like she'd been waiting. Please, she said. Just a minute. I crossed my arms. Make it quick. Her eyes dropped, and for the first time since I'd known her, the confidence was gone. She won't talk to me, she said. Riley. She's blocked me. I haven't heard from her in weeks. Maybe she realized she doesn't need a mentor who ruins lives. Celeste nodded slowly. I deserve that. But you need to know. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I scoffed. You coached her through a divorce scam and tried to get everything I worked for. I was bitter, she said quickly. I just lost everything in my second divorce. Brent, he messed me up. He always had me convinced I wasn't enough. Then he left, and I snapped. I thought if I could help Riley win, maybe I'd finally feel like I had control over something. I shook my head. So you blew up your sister's marriage to fix your own ego? I thought I was protecting her. Honestly, until I realized she loved you. Even when she was doing what I told her, she kept hesitating. But I kept pushing. And now she hates me. I wasn't sure if I felt anger or pity. Maybe both. Maybe neither. She's not the only one who should hate you, I said. Celeste looked up, her eyes red. Do you think there's any way she'd forgive me? No, I said. And honestly, she probably shouldn't. I walked away, not out of cruelty, but clarity. I'd spent enough time trying to understand people who never understood me. Later that week, I saw Riley again. Not in person, just a photo someone shared on social. She was working part-time at a local pet supply store. Hair pulled back, no makeup, a tired smile. She looked normal, human. Word was, she moved into a small rental with roommates. I heard she was trying to take online courses again. No Celeste. No backup. Just her. I won't lie. There was a time when seeing her struggle would have felt like justice. But by then, it just felt like reality doing what it always does, revealing truth when the dust finally settles. As for me, I'd never been busier. The business was thriving. I hired 2 part-time drivers, and for the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder in my own home. I fixed up the garage, finally patched the drywall, installed new shelving, even framed some old photos, me and the truck when I bought it brand new. My pride. My second home. Every now and then, I come across something of Riley's. A hair tie in a drawer. A scribbled grocery list with my name and a heart next to it. Traces of a life we used to share. I didn't throw them out. I just closed the drawer. Not everything needs to be erased. Some things just need to be left behind. I saw Riley one last time. It was about 6 months after the divorce was finalized. I was pulling into the gas station on Route 18, same one I used to hit on Fridays before my weekend runs, when I spotted her standing by the air pump, trying to refill a tire that clearly had a slow leak. She hadn't seen me yet. Her car was older now, probably bought cheap after the settlement. She looked thinner, tired, worn down in a way that didn't come from age, but from life catching up. I had a moment, just a flicker, where I thought about pulling away, staying invisible, but I didn't. I parked my truck, got out, and walked over. She looked up, startled. "Oh," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hey, need a hand?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I think the gauge is busted. I can't tell if it's filling or not." I crouched down, checked the pressure myself, gave it what it needed. Old habit. I didn't say much. Just worked. When I stood up, she was staring at me. Not angry. Not sad. Just full of something she couldn't quite name. "I heard about your company," she said. "Someone said you're running 3 trucks now." 4, I replied. "Got another one coming in next month." She nodded, looked down at her shoes. "I'm glad," she said. "You deserve it." There was a long pause. "Look," she said, voice cracking, "I've been doing a lot of thinking. About what I did. About everything I let happen. And I just want to say, I'm sorry." I believed her. Not that it changed anything. I didn't offer forgiveness. Didn't offer friendship. Just gave her the only thing I could that mattered. "You're not the same person you were," I said. "Neither am I. That's life. Some people grow. Some learn the hard way." She nodded again. Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. "I was so stupid," she whispered. "You weren't stupid," I replied. "You were lost. You listened to someone who wanted you to fail because they couldn't stand to see you succeed where they hadn't." She looked up at me like that sentence hit harder than anything I could have shouted. I took a step back, gave her a half smile, and said, "Take care of yourself, Riley." Then I walked away. Didn't look back this time either. Driving away, I felt something strange in my chest. Not anger. Not pride. Just peace. Like the final page of a chapter that took too long to end. I built everything I had with my own hands. No shortcuts. No scams. Just grit, steel, and long miles. And yeah, someone tried to take it from me. But they forgot the most important rule about trying to rob a man who built his world from the ground up. You can't steal what you didn't help build.